Hello, I'm shooting a video today to introduce you to Mr. D. Mr. D is the mobile robotic drummer. And when you receive your Mr. D, you'll find the striking arms are down in the box, and you'll find a set of batteries and a USB cable for reprogramming it. And the way you want to, so the batteries are going to go in here, and the way you get access, the first thing that you'll do is put the batteries in. Now, as I'm doing this, so it's going to be 4 screws. This one, this one, this one, and that one. So 4 screws, and I'm just going to unscrew them enough. You don't have to pull them all the way out, but just enough that they come loose from the standoff that they're connected to. Okay? So this one, not quite. Okay, so now they're all loose and I can pull the top off. Now you want to be careful when you do this. There are a set of wires, and you'll see the insides. You'll see, well, starting from the front, there's the, this is a proximity sensor. It's an ultrasonic proximity sensor. This board here is the motor driver board, controller board. It's a dual H-bridge board that controls the 2 DC gear motors that drive the wheels. So those are independent wheels, and that's how you can go forward and turn and go in reverse. Up top, there's actually a circuit board, and that's a that houses the Arduino microcontroller. It's an Arduino Nano, and that's really the the brains of the robot right there. In any case, you're going to want to put your batteries in, and notice the polarity. It's positive towards the front, towards the back, towards the front, towards the back, alternating. So make sure you have your batteries in the right direction. A little note on batteries as I'm putting this back together now. You want to make sure your batteries are, you won't be able to use rechargeable nickel metal hydride batteries because those only put out 1.2 volts per cell when they're fully charged, so that would add up to 4.8 volts total in series. I'm using regular alkaline batteries. Lithium might be a little bit better, give you a bit better life, but they're 1.5 volts each, so that's going to add up to 6 volts, and we need that. We need the voltage to be above 5.5 volts, so that that's the voltage that the Arduino needs to see in order that the onboard regulator can put out 5 volts. If it's less than that, you're going to have problems. And the symptoms of those problems you'll find, we'll talk about that after, but basically if you see that your robot is, when it's in yellow mode, which is a sort of moving mode, if it starts spinning in circles or getting really jerky, probably is a sign that your batteries are too low, so you'll want to replace those. Okay. Oh yeah, and the thing I was going to say is if you want to test your batteries, if you have a multimeter, you can actually connect 2 leads, just the probes, to these 2 terminals here. That's where the power comes in, and see what your battery power is at if you have a multimeter, which if you're going to begin experimenting with Mr. D and maybe exploring some of its other capabilities and reprogramming it, a multimeter is a good thing to invest in. Okay, I'm just going to get these screws retightened here to get the cover on. Okay. Just about. Okay. You don't want to tighten too much. These are nylon screws and standoffs, so you don't want to strip it out because then they won't hold. So just use a moderate amount of torque. on your screwdriver. Okay, well let's turn it on now and see what happens. So there's the on switch. And first it'll usually kind of strike, and then it goes into white mode. So the LED, which is housed right back here, turns white or some color. Going through the glass is a little bit green tinted, so sometimes it'll show up slightly greenish or turquoise-ish like this. So nothing's going to happen in that mode. It's just kind of ready and waiting. To switch it to do something interesting, the first mode we'll go over is blue mode. And in blue mode, if you press and hold that button, you'll see that the robot, MR.D, goes into blue mode. Now what's happening is the robot is sensing what's in front of it. If there's nothing in front of it, then it'll hold in this kind of ready mode. If something goes in front of it, it's going to raise its arms. So that's how you can kind of tell. And this one, for some reason, there must be just the settings that it's at internally are right in between two values or two spots on the servo, so it's just a little bit jerky. Yours may or may not be that way or more stable. But you can see this is kind of ready to strike in an up position mode, like if an object were here, and in this position they're ready to strike the floor. And so I can, put an object in front of it that it might strike, and you can see. So that's the first, test you can do to make sure that the robot sees that you're there. And if you go into, let's move the object, hit the green button, it's going to go into green mode, or into magenta mode. Now here, when there's nothing in front of it, it's going to hit the table. When I put an object in front of it, let me move this back so you can see. When I put an object in front of it, so when nothing's there, it hits the table. And then if something's in front of it, notice the wheels are going to move. It's going to try to, it's not only going to sense that the object's there, but it's going to try to move into a position where it can reach it to strike it. So let's try that. So see how it goes forward on its own? It finds a place where it can strike it. If I move it back, let's see that again. So it sees the table, I put an object in front of it, so that's one mode, and I'm just going to shut it off to make sure you can hear me. So blue mode can go into that, and I said green mistakenly, but you press the green button, it'll turn sort of a magenta color or a purpley color. And that's one mode, and you can play around with different kinds of materials, different surfaces. You'll want to be sure that if you have it on a table like I do, don't let it go off the edge. It doesn't have edge sensors, so you never want to, this isn't a robot that's intended to survive a fall. So use it on, if you're using it on the table, use caution, or if you otherwise use it on the floor, make sure it's not going to be able to go down the stairs. Especially important when we go to our next mode. So I'm going to turn this on again. All right, see how it kind of strikes. And then it's in white mode. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it into yellow mode. And yellow mode, you want to pick it up when you switch it because it's immediately going to turn on the motors, and it's going to go into object avoidance mode. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to put it into yellow mode. It's going to turn yellow, and it's moving forward, right? Well, it's going to go forward as long as it doesn't sense a door and an object in front of it. So let me give it. I'm going to close some doors. Yep, there's the bathroom. And now, see if we've kind of got a little blocked off area, and you can see what it's going to do. It's going to go until it finds something that it would otherwise strike, and then it's going to move away. So there, it kind of tries to avoid, and now, see, it'll go forward. So this is object avoidance mode. And I've kind of put a lot in front of it, so You know, it gets kind of frustrated when it can't find a way out. So if I put it somewhere else, let's give it, so white mode, hold the button down. Here I have it on the floor, so I'll just let it go and it goes. There we go. Okay, so it's going, and it can get tangled up. Notice here there's a wire, so you know you gotta kind of, it's not perfect, it only has one sensor, so it's gonna get tripped up sometimes. Another way to kind of trip it up is if you have the leg of a chair. Oops. See if I can get it to go to the chair here. So sometimes it'll go get around it, but other times you'll find that if it hits it, and I'll just turn it off, you know, if the sensor is there, or let's say the sensor is there, right? The sensor just looks forward, so it's not going to see the chair, and it can get caught up, and it tries to kind of move randomly so it can get out, but you know, only up to a point. Now, from yellow mode, if I turn it on again, put it in white mode, I'll go into yellow mode, and I'm going to hold it in place just, and hit the green button. And now it's going to kind of vary between playing, and then it's going to look for objects to strike. So, oh, there it goes. It's going to find, oh, hit the wall, but then it moved away. And now, sometimes in that mode, you have to let it know that there's still movement there. And if you put it in front of an object, it'll strike it. Well, before it moves. So it alternates between moving. So if I wanted to strike something. And you can get creative with what you put in front of it, or kind of make a sonic obstacle course, which maybe I'll demonstrate in another video. Oh, and there it comes from my foot. Ah, beating my foot. Little ankle beater. Anyway, that's a little introduction to MR.D. I hope you enjoy and have fun with it, and there are a lot more capabilities built onto it, so that's a good starting point with the current firmware. I'll probably be releasing upgrades in the future, and I'll post all those to my website, so be sure to check back there every once in a while if you want to see other ideas for using your MR.D. That's all. I'm Troy, and I designed this robot for Information Society fans like you, and I hope you enjoy it. Bye.